here to discuss The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. It was our July read. I'll just introduce myself really quickly. I'm Nina Perez. I'm one of the co-founders of VaginaCon.com.
I'm Nanea Hoffman. I'm the other co-founder of VaginaCon.com.
And I'm Barbara Soroy-Doyle. I write for VaginaCon.com for the I Want Your Text section and the Pop Culture section.
And if she pops in, we may be joined by Katoria, who writes about relationships and dating for us. So, like I said, she's having a little technical difficulty. So, I guess we can just start off with just quickly giving overall thoughts on the book. Who wants to go first?
I mean, it doesn't matter. I can go first.
Then you go first.
Okay, I loved this book, and I have not been as moved by a fantasy fairy tale type story since Neil Gaiman's Stardust, which, comparing her work to Neil Gaiman, is, to me, one of the highest compliments you can give anybody. But it was just so lyrical and so beautiful, and it flowed, and it kept me intrigued. I had moments that I didn't know how people were going to connect until it came together, and I absolutely loved it. And I told my husband, if you love Stardust, you will love this book.
I agree. I thought that it was like lyrical is a good word. I feel like the prose was just gorgeous. Book. It took me a while to sort of, I felt a little disoriented because it doesn't follow a linear timeline, you know, so I kept having to go back and look at the little thing at the beginning of each chapter which said what year it was.
Right.
But I also think that worked to put me into the story, because you're supposed to be a little bit like off balance and a little bit like what's going on. So and I actually really liked the use of the second person narrative when they would say you enter the tent and like,
did it remind you of like a choose your own adventure book?
Yes, absolutely.
Right? Yeah. Those parts of the book, it was like when it's like you enter a room and there's this, that, and I almost expected at the bottom it would be like, do you want to go in this tent or this?
Exactly.
I liked it too. I feel like I'm going to be like a Debbie Downer. I was a little disappointed because I thought I was going to like it more, but I think that is just the build-up, right? Because it's like when we picked this book, it was because everywhere I turned, people were adding it to read it, and then when I went to just read just like a little blurb to see what it was about, to see if I thought it would be something I would like, all the reviews were so complimentary, and they were just like, oh, it's so fantastic, and it's the best book I've read in a long time. And so it was such a build-up that I thought I was going to be blown away. I wasn't blown away, but I really did enjoy it. For all the reasons that you guys said, I thought that it is extremely well written. It's probably the best, I guess you could say, of the three that we've read so far, right, for Book Banter, definitely, right, by far. And I love the story. Unlike you, I was getting confused with, oh, thanks, sweetie. I was getting confused with the time, but unlike you, I wouldn't go back to see where I was. I just waited to get, because, you could just tell after a little bit, you could tell by either the status of someone's relationship or exactly where they were. I was like, okay, this must be before this happened. But I found, like, trying to pay attention to the years was just, like, too confusing for me. So I would just kind of read and go with it a little bit. But I did enjoy it. I thought it was really good. I'm looking at the chat in the and on our site. Excuse me, I'm trying to get the other laptop set up. And Wendy just said that she agrees with Nanea. She had a hard time getting into the book because it was so lyrical and nonlinear. The build-up went into page 200. So I guess we should explain. The premise of the story is there are these two kind of master illusionists, I would imagine, who each choose a competitor. So there's the orphan boy Marco, right? Right. And one of the other illusionists is his young daughter Celia, who from a very young age developed. He realized that she had abilities, right? and could manipulate items and things. And so they were tasked with a competition, which I think it was like in the beginning of the book, we didn't even know when it was going to begin or, you know, when it was going to take place. And so the whole book is the circus is kind of their chessboard. It sets the stage for this competition between the two. I thought, I don't know about you guys, I'm embarrassed to admit this, and maybe we were supposed to. I didn't realize that Marco, the assistant, was the boy from the beginning. Was that just me putting down the book for too long?
Maybe. Because
Okay.
I did.
I
did. But I think when you're talking about a plot structure, this book, you know, I too went into it when I read the blurbs. I thought it was going to be a romance, maybe, like there would be more time invested in the character's romance. I thought maybe there'd be a very clear plot structure, and if that's what you're looking for, you probably shouldn't read this book because you're talking about this competition, and I think throughout the book we spend a lot of time not even sure what the competition is.
Yeah.
Yes.
How you win, why they've been pitted against each other, and she, as a writer, is very comfortable with leaving that all very floaty and ambiguous throughout the book. I think she's more interested in concentrating on, like, moments, sensory moments that you experience through the circus and through what they can do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
I didn't expect a romance at all. And so when that happened, I almost like stopped and went into our group to say something to you guys, but I didn't know where everybody was. I thought that romance was more romantic, again, so far than anything we've read so far. Like, it was better than the romance.
Oh,
right?
my gosh. That was like, woo!
Yes.
I didn't expect it because I didn't read any blurbs. I didn't read any reviews. And I didn't think I was going to like this book because I don't like circuses. I find them creepy. So when everybody's like, that sounds wonderful, I'm like, I don't know, but I'll read it. So it really just swept me up. And I think it really, for me, didn't start to get, I didn't get any inkling of the romance really until almost halfway through the book, I think. You know, there's this connection between the players, but I didn't see anything romantic coming. And even though it was very, you know, it's very subtle, right? Like, but it was, like, amazing to me.
When I got it, obviously, is when she comes to audition when Celia comes to audition for the circus. And he's, like, flustered, like, looking at her, and he can't stop staring at her. And then I got it, and I was like, oh, okay, well, maybe, like, because I knew he changed his face. Eventually you find out that he doesn't look as he normally does. But I thought maybe he was using a different name. But once that started, I still wasn't expecting a love story. I thought he was going to do something bad to her. Like,
yes.
I just thought that it was going to be like a good and evil type thing, and I didn't trust him.
Yeah.
Right? So I thought he was really going to do something bad to her. But when they had that ball, and she had the dress that would change colors depending on who she was near, and that was...
the first time that, like, his skin touches her skin, it was like, oh, my word. Like, I had the vapors. It was fantastic. That, to me, that was sexier than any scene in 50 Shades of Grey.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. And the kiss where everybody stops, but then he makes everybody forget. Yeah.
Yeah. It was very beautifully written, and I think she is such a master at giving you those sensual experiences. Like, I don't know if you guys felt this way, but as I was reading it, there was a part of me that thought, oh my God, I wish this was a movie. And then there was another part of me that realized this movie could never be as beautiful as I've made it in my mind. You know what I mean?
think depending on who does it, because I thought the same thing you did. As I was reading about the circus and, like, the ice garden and what was the room that was all the clouds, you know, when I'm reading this, I'm thinking, not Tim Burton, because I think that would be, like, the obvious choice, and I think he would make it more comical, like, or ridiculous.
He'd make it whimsical.
Yeah, but, you know, I don't know if you guys seen it, but the trailer for the new Oz movie with James Franco, I don't know who did that, but I think that might be good. Or even Sam Raimi, I just saw the trailer for The Life of Pi. I think that kind of imagery, if you've seen that trailer, that might work. But I think with the right people behind it, I want this to be made a movie. I'll be disappointed.
Yeah, I had that thought as well. I think it would just be visually gorgeous to see.
I agree. Victoria says that she listened to the audiobook while she was at work, and when the kiss happened, she was at work, and she stopped working and totally fanned herself. And Julie tossed out a really good, I agree, choice as a director if this is made into a movie, Ang Lee.
Oh, yeah, that could work.
Wendy's checking. She thinks that it was announced that they're making it into a movie. She's going to check for us.
I think she's right too. I mean, I could just visualize, just like the scenes with the revuers, you know, all in their black and white with a little splash of red. Like, I was imagining how that would look on a screen, and I think it would be spectacular.
Oh, it definitely would. But the thing I'm wondering about translation to film is just there is so much we learn about them through their inner monologuing, about, you know, like what they're learning and how they're experiencing their gifts and such, and I'm interested to see how somebody can translate that to a visual.
Yeah. There were certain things that I think just happened, like, and you didn't really get an explanation. For instance, when we learned that her father died, right? And so we read about the funeral, right, and the announcement in the paper and all this stuff, and then she gets she's going through all the mail, and she gets the card from Alexander that says your move, and then she storms into the room, and she's like, what's this about? And then that's how the chapter ended. I love that as, you know, as writing technique. I thought, oh, this bitch knows how to end the chapter. Like, I was just like, I thought he was dead. But there was, I will say that one thing that left me a little confused until the end, and maybe it's on purpose, is Tara. When well, what I wasn't getting to was, and it wasn't until she started getting it, and I thought that the explanation, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, that once, you know, they weren't traveling with the circus all the time, right? Like the sisters who were in charge of like ambiance and, you know, it was they came up with the the living statues or whatever.
Right.
And then we have Chandras, am I saying his name right? Who kind of, you know, helped build everything with Mr. Barris and all that, and the woman who did the costumes. They weren't traveling with the circus, and so not only was Celia's powers being used up just to keep it going, with what Marco was doing with the fire, but he also had to like keep these people almost unaware of the fact that nobody's aging. Anybody that had anything to do with it, even the people within it. The only people that were aging were the twins, who were born, I guess, right when he did his magic to, you know, link himself to the circus by igniting the bonfire, or was it a bonfire or a cauldron fire? Bonfire. But once it started to unravel for Tara, and she goes and she asks the questions, and when she went to Alexander, I thought, oh, that's the wrong person to go to. To me, at first, I thought we were supposed to believe that he kind of made it so that she stepped in front of the train, because I still had an element of him being just a very dangerous person, right? And that you're not really sure what their motives are and what they're willing to do to keep this competition a secret. And so it wasn't until later that I got, no, it's just that she was distracted by watching him talk to, what is his name? Her father.
Prospero, the enchanter?
Yes.
Right.
Well, I think that scene is a parallel for, you know, that's the whole thing about, if the circus is such a beautiful thing and such a beautiful distraction for people, why is there something a little bit, you know, sinister about it for the people who are caught up in it? And it's that if you're caught up in this dream, you may not be aware of dangers to yourself, right? Like that's her whole thing. She's so distracted.
Yeah.
That she steps in front of a train, and she's really the first victim that we see, right?
Right.
Right.